Would you like to see what's on my wish list? I'm Jack, this is Red Book Joy, and I have an Amazon wish list which I was going to tidy up today, and I just thought maybe I'll share it with you while I'm tidying it up. And what do I mean by tidying it up? Well, I continually watch lots of BookTube and read recommendations online, and I add books to the list quite frequently, and a lot of the time I'll look back at the list and then I'll go, I don't even remember putting that book on there or what it's about, and then I'll look at it and I'll go, you know what, it's been on there for a while, I haven't bought it, I may as well take it off, because there is a finite amount of time in our lives for reading books. I've also got hundreds of books on my shelf that are unread, and on my Kindle and on my Audible account and all my other things and I'm also getting out loads of library books. So if I can cut down my wish list a little bit, then yeah, I'll do that. Also, sometimes I just forget about these amazing books that are on the wish list, and then they're prompted to the front of my mind to look for them if I see them out and about in secondhand shops or in the library or something. I'm also going to sort of show you it while I'm tidying up. There are quite a number of books on this list. I'm not sure how many, but I'm not going to talk about all of them, because if I did, we'd be here all day. And I wasn't even planning on making a video about it. It just occurred to me while I was looking through the list and thinking I'll clear this up, that you might like to have a look. So I thought I'd bring you along for it. So I'm currently recording my iPad screen so that I can edit the footage in here for when we're talking, and I'm flicking through and you can see what I'm talking about. But I also have a copy of the list linked in my About section. I'm not suggesting anyone go and buy me a book. The wish list is public. It's one of those hangovers from when I had an Instagram as well. Instagrammers used to buy each other books quite a lot. So yeah, my public wish list is there. No one needs to buy me anything, but the wish list is there if you want to take a look at it, and if you want to keep an eye on what I'm adding to the wish list, you're more than welcome. Okay, so let's have a look, shall we? At the moment, it's organised by default, which is most recent things added on first. So I'm wondering whether I should do the things that are added on. I think you can only order it by sort of priority. Oh, and I'll tell you what's really useful. You can order it by price low to high. And I'll show you why that's useful, because I stopped getting the Kindle Daily Deal emails because I was buying far too many Kindle books that I was then never going to read, just because they were 99p, so it seems like a bargain, but it's only a bargain if you ever eventually end up reading it, otherwise you've just spent £1 for no reason. So I decided I'm only going to, buy these 99p deals when they're books I actually am seeking. So someone told me a trick, and I can't remember who it was, but it was one of my subscribers about a year ago when I mentioned this. They were like, oh, I just have my wish list and I order the books from price low to high, and when I do that, then you'll see, look, some of them are now 99p. So if I still really want them, I can now buy them. So I'm going to look at it this way actually, because price lowest to highest, you'll see I've got a lot of Kindle books on my wish list. And the reason for that is, so this is probably going to go into like my buying habits at the moment. I am trying to cut down on the physical book buying for a number of reasons. The biggest reason is the amount of space they take up, and I'm very, very bad at getting rid of things. I'm someone who finds it really difficult to let go of physical objects. I'm kind of like a hoarder, but I'm not. I'm very organised in my hoarding, but especially with books, I find it really difficult to let them go, even if I've not much if I've not really enjoyed it, but I find it really difficult to get rid of books. So when I buy a physical book, invariably it's going to be carted around with me from house to house, and having moved house 4 times in the last year and a half, I know the difficulty in, packing all these books up, moving them, shifting them around, storing them, unpacking them. Like, I kind of need to cut down on my physical book buying. So I've kind of put some rules in place for myself. And also, a lot of the books that I buy physically, they're not keepers. They're not things I'm going to reread. But I find myself really loath to part with them. So I've got, I don't know how many unread books on my shelves. I could tell you, because I have very recently finished adding all my books to the BookBuddy app, which I will do a video about. So I do know the size of my library, my physical library at least. So what I've decided is that from now on, if it's a new book, where possible, I'm going to buy it as an ebook, whether that be Kindle or anything else, but I'm going to buy it as an ebook. So where I've put lots of novels on here, they're mainly ebook on my wish list, because I don't want to add to my physical TBR anymore. And Kindle books don't count. I say Kindle books, ebooks. It doesn't have to be a Kindle book, but they don't count because they're not taking up space. So you can buy them, they can sit there, they're not taking up all this space in my house, they're not staring at me for not having read them. And you know, I don't feel quite as guilty buying an ebook as I do buying a physical book. But yes, so let's have a look at these. So in terms of book buying physically, I am going to carry on buying children's books, main picture books, because I need physical picture books. I'm going to buy graphic novels or books where they're sort of illustrated or lots of pictures in, or like, you know, special editions, things like that. So if I am buying physical books, it's things like that, where possible. It may be that I go in and buy something in an indie bookshop or a bookshop that I've not seen before. If I go into secondhand bookshops, that's allowed, that's fine. Secondhand books are okay, but brand new hardbacks, paperbacks, I'm going to really, you know, push for that to be ebook, unless it's so stunning and it's a beloved author that I need. Then yeah, but I'm not going to hold myself to hard and fast rules, but generally speaking, that's what I'm going to be doing. So ebook where possible. Now then, look at the list. So you can see now 99p, I've got 4 books here that are on my list that are 99p. RJ Barker, The Bone Ships, that's one I've had my eye on for some time, but a lot of books you'll see on here, I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to reorder them by default, because some of them, they need to be grouped together to explain why they're on the list. So we're having a little look, and you can see on here that I've added quite a few physical things. So you'll see the physical things I've added: The Sad Ghost Club, that's graphic novel. Tim Minchin's You Don't Have to Have a Dream, that's kind of like a combination of all his like commencement speeches that he gives to universities and colleges, which is supposed to be really, really good, and it's illustrated, so that's why that's on there. And Cora Sandell, Alberta and Jacob, that is the first in a trilogy that the lovely Marilyn at Marilyn Maya Mendoza has been raving about, and she talked about in a recent video as well, and it reminded me I wanted to add it to my wish list. You can't get it in ebook, that's why that's there. Composite Creatures and True Grit, Jade City, these all came from the same video, so I'll talk about this in a second. But Composite Creatures, True Grit, Jade City, and that was it, I think. They came from a video recently where Library of a Viking, who I have been following since before he had a YouTube channel and before he had a really big channel, he started on Instagram not far off the time I started on Instagram, and we connected on Instagram, and then he got a YouTube channel and now he's absolutely massive, and he's such a nice guy. He's a really, really nice guy, and he recently did a video where he went around a convention and he aimed to get book recommendations from George R.R. Martin, Joe Abercrombie, Shannon Chakraborty, and like loads of really, really big fantasy authors. And so he managed to get recommendations from them. So these are some of the recommendations that came up, and I've put them on here. And there was another video he did with a similar thing, and I've put those on as well. So that's why they're on there. This one, Kristen Laven's Daughter, Penguin Deluxe Classic. Well, actually, I didn't really intend to put the deluxe edition on here, but basically this is a trilogy that someone said when I did my 20th Century Classics video that should be on the Books of the Century list. And the reason, I looked it up and it looks amazing. So it's about it's a historical fiction set in 14th century Norway. Nobel laureate Sigrid Undstedt tells the life story of one passionate and headstrong woman. And so it's basically the life story of this woman in 14th century Norway, and it's supposed to be an amazing trilogy. And yeah, I'd never heard of it before. And when I looked it up, it had a terrible English translation apparently up until the year 2000, I think. So the recent year 2000 translation is supposed to be amazing. So that's why that's on there. The Boy Lost in the Maze, Joseph Coelho, who is our current children's laureate, and he is a poet, and this is a book told in verse, and it's a retelling of Theseus and the Minotaur. Lots of things on here. Codependent, of course, I want to read that. That's apparently amazing, and apparently better than Doppelganger, which won the Women's Prize, and that was shortlisted and didn't win, obviously. Got lots of books here on children's picture books, illustration. Studio Ghibli, though I've been told it is Ghibli, but I've said Ghibli for years, so forgive me. Yeah, I wanted some of these because I was watching a video and someone was talking about Hayao Miyazaki's diaries, which look great, and then these were recommended as well. So I recently went to see Spirited Away, the live production in London. It was just breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. I saw the live action production of My Neighbour Totoro as well in the Barbican at Christmas. Just absolutely blown away by those. Magical. I loved every moment. So yeah, so these books here, This Is How You Lose the Time War, all of these, all the way down to The Bone Ships and We Are the Dead. These were all the recommendations from different fantasy authors. Actually, This Is How You Use the Time War was from something else, but the rest of them, they were all recommendations from either different fantasy authors or from another massive fantasy booktuber that Library of a Viking was chatting to. And so then we have Tokyo Vice, I watched recently, really good programme, and some picture books. Surprise, surprise. I've got a lot on here of very recently I've been putting on a lot of either cozy Korean or cozy Japanese fiction. So you got there Lantern of Lost Memories, Yeonam Dong's Smiley Laundromat, James Percival Everett, everyone wants that at the moment. Oh, I really want that Keanu Reeves China Miéville book. I've never read any China Miéville. I've got Kraken on my TBR, which I've had for years on my TBR, but I saw them talking about it and yeah, I really want to read it. What else? Julia 1984, of course. Other things that look interesting in here. Dorothy Dunnett. I can't remember why I've put that on there. I feel like that was on Shelly Swearingen's like history recommendations from like BookTube recommended history books to her, and I think Dorothy Dunnett was on there. Lots of things on here. Earl Slick, one of David Bowie's session guitarists. Yeah, the sound of a lot of his 70s stuff. Bernard Cornwell's Stonehenge, that's a standalone, which is unusual for Bernard Cornwell, and I love historical fiction set around that period where we know very little about it, because I like that the way that authors use their imagination to imagine what it would have been like. I love all of that. Annie Bott looks good. Plotted, a literary atlas. That's kind of like imagining different worlds of, maps and, it's brought to life, like 3D maps of imaginary worlds. Looks pretty amazing. Some more picture books. Minotaur Takes a Cigarette Break. That's something that me, Alice and Gemma saw in Libraria, I don't know how to pronounce it, in Brick Lane. We went on the last BookTube meetup and we all looked at it and thought it looked really interesting. The Amazing Jellyfish. That's a follow-up to a book that I did buy from that day, which was The Amazing Octopus, which is pretty good. Let's carry on through. Lots of these books you'll know. Anything that stands out as interesting. Oh look, Margaret Pinard's books. They're on my wish list, Margaret. I've had them on there for a little while. Yeah, if you're not familiar, Margaret Pinard is an author here on BookTube and she's lovely, and I watch her channel when I can. She does lives. She's always doing live streams. She does lots of writers stuff like writing advice and interviewing other writers and things like that. Carry on through. Oh, Garlic and the Witch. I really need that book. The Collected Regrets of Clover. That was a recommendation from Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, and she loved it. So it went on the list. Yeah, this is the thing. When I'm going through the list, I'm looking at all these things and I'm like, yeah, I do want to read all these things. These are things that if I was sent them or given them, I would be more than happy with. Gathering Moss and Braiding Sweetgrass. I really feel like I would love those books. I feel like they're very important. In fact, I feel like I put them on here after watching Margaret Pinard talking about them. Okay, let's carry on through. The Wild Silence. I've got that. I'm going to remove that. So talking about clearing up, I'm going to remove that because someone got that for me for my birthday. So I don't know if people get things off my wish list and then they arrive. They're supposed to come off the wish list, right? But they don't seem to. I wonder if that's a setting I've not made happen. But yes, lots of children's books down here. This book looks so good, The Wanderer. I've seen it. I've read it in the bookshop because it's like a wordless picture book and it's just beautiful. How Do You Live? This one, talking about Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli. This is the inspiration for The Boy and the Heron. So that's why that's on the list. I haven't seen that yet though. If anyone else has seen it, is it amazing? I hope so. I don't want it to be disappointing. Yeah, so if we look through, I've got lots and lots of children's books on here. Lots of books that I put on the list for like The Wolf's Secret, for things like Picture This, my picture book readathon that I run with Shelly Swearingen. The Bone Ships has come up physically and in Kindle. So here, this is where we're getting down to a bit where I just put physical books on. So now I'm going to remove the Bone Ships here because that is now added on as an ebook. But see, clearly it's a book that I've been interested in for a while. And now we've got to the end of the list. So yeah, a few things down here that I have no recollection of adding to the list. Priest of Bones. No idea when I added that to the list or why. I have no idea. But it looks like an indie author. So it's probably, I've got that from BookTube somehow. Ariana Franklin, Mistress of the Art of Death. That's a series set in like 15th century Italy, I think, and it's like a murder mystery series. I love historical mystery. If I'm going to read mystery, historical mystery is my preferred type of mystery. So yeah, so that's it. I've cleaned up the list. I actually had cleaned up the list a little bit before I decided to start filming, and I was like, I should show you what I'm doing, and you can have a look at my list. If there's anything on this list that you think, oh, you really need to prioritise that, why haven't you bought that yet, or why haven't you made an effort to read that yet, let me know. Do you see anything on here you think I should definitely read? Or is there anything on here you think I definitely shouldn't read? My most recent editions, The Whisperwicks, is apparently amazing, and it's been on there for a while, and then I saw a great review of it by Charles Heathcote, and yeah, I'm even more excited to read it because that's been on my wish list for a number of weeks now. I hope you enjoyed that look through my wish list. I don't know if you would enjoy it. I don't know who might enjoy it. This might be a really terrible video. If you've never been here before and you think, that was a load of rambling nonsense, but I quite liked it, then maybe you might think about sticking around and subscribing, and then hopefully we'll see you again here soon. Bye.